it's Stephanie here, and today I have a video featuring a fun stamp set from Create a Smile Stamps, which is called Your View, and it's this great little set that has like a window, and then it has all these little different elements that you can put inside the window. There's a dog and a cat and a snowman, and you can create the weather and put curtains and all kinds of different fun little things that work together to create fun little window scenes. For this card here, I'm going to be using the snowman. So I'm going ahead and first stamping that window image onto my card front. This is just a piece of Neenah Solar White cardstock. And then I'm going to go ahead and also stamp the snowman. Now for the window piece, I stamped it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink just because I really like how crisp and clear that ink stamps. But for the snowman itself, I'm going to be using Tuxedo Black ink from Memento because I'm going to use some Copic markers to color him in, and this ink works well with Copics and doesn't bleed. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp him a couple times. I usually do this just in case when I'm coloring I mess up the coloring. I have another image already stamped and ready to go. So I've got some gray colored Copic markers, and I'm going to use this just to kind of highlight around the edges of the snowman's body, just to give him a little bit more dimension than leaving him completely white. It just adds a little bit more so he doesn't look so flat. So I'm just taking my darkest gray first and just going right around the edge right against the inked line, and then I'm going in with my lighter color, which is I think just the 00, and going ahead and kind of blending that into the body of the snowman. And then I'm adding some additional colors to the rest of his features. So I just used plain black for his buttons. Since they're so tiny, I didn't worry about any shading. I used a couple of orange colors for his nose, and then I went ahead and did his hat in some aqua colors, and then just did the band in the middle area black. Now I did go out of the lines a little bit, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to cut him out, so you're not going to see any of the ink that went out of the lines. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut him out. And on the side of his body where he's kind of peeking out from the window, you can just cut a straight edge on both the side of his body and then the bottom. And then this just ensures that when I tuck him in behind the window there, when I create my little scene, that you don't lose any of the detail of the snowman. So I'm just kind of taking my time going around the edges, and I'm cutting right against the inked line. And when I cut down the other side of him, I'm going to go ahead and cut his arm right off. It would be really hard to try and cut out just that thin straight image. So to get around that, I'm going to restamp the snowman onto a piece of acetate, which is going to be the front of the window. So to do that, we need to first open the window area up. So I'm going to take a ruler and my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to go ahead and completely cut that center area out. And my head was completely in the camera view, so I just kind of cut that part out. I didn't figure you wanted to see my big head there. But I just used the straight edge of the ruler and cut down each side of the window so that I had a fully open window like you see here. So now I have my acetate piece. This is just a spare piece of acetate that I had from some packaging, and I'm going to adhere this directly onto the back area of this card. And then the snowman is going to tuck in between the white piece on the top and then the acetate piece on the bottom. So to make sure that I still have an arm showing, I'm going ahead and using StazOn Black ink. This is a great permanent ink for surfaces such as acetate or any smooth surface that you want to stamp on. And I'm going to stamp the snowman onto this piece of acetate. The trick to doing this is you just want to take your time and go slow and just be very careful and stamp directly down and then pull your stamp directly up off of the acetate. And this will help prevent it from slipping and sliding around and making your image blurry. And if by chance you do kind of mess up and blur the image, you can just take an alcohol swab and wipe the acetate, and it will take the StazOn right off. So that's just a great little tip in case you do mess up. And then if you saw there, I just went ahead and added the snowman directly on top to the acetate piece. And now I'm preparing my back piece that's going to go behind the window. So it's going to be a snowy scene, so I want to just add a blue inked piece to the background. I didn't want it super neat and smooth. I wanted it kind of to have a little bit of a texture look to it, so I just kind of moved my inking tool around to kind of create lines and blobs of color. And then I went ahead and cut it down so that it will fit behind the acetate piece. So I added adhesive directly to the window piece, added my acetate on top of that, and now I'm adding more adhesive and I'm going to be adding my blue piece on. Now I'm going to create somewhat of a shaker card here, but rather than using foam adhesive to have a large area for the pieces that I'm putting in here to move around, I'm just going to be using I'm going to be adhering the back piece directly onto the acetate piece, so there won't be really any space in there for stuff to move around. It'll have a slight area to move, but for the most part everything will kind of stay suspended in that open acetate area. And I'm trying to kind of mimic snow. So I went ahead and added a few large actual snowflake sequins, and then I added some smaller sequins as well, just some clear ones. And you can see there now when you adhere the back piece on, it holds those sequins directly behind that window, and they move a tiny bit just for kind of for a fun interactive element, but they don't move a whole ton, so you don't have a lot of movement in behind that snowman. So to finish off the card, I'm going to take the same sequins that I used on the inside, and I'm going to add them to the outside area. So I picked a really large snowflake sequin that I liked and kind of positioned it where I wanted it, and then figured I better get the sentiment stamped on here before I do all the finishing details. So I just took the hello stamp from the same stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp that directly underneath of the window with the same VersaFine Black Onyx ink. Once again, I really like this ink for sentiments and really detailed images because it stamps so nicely. So I went ahead and stamped that on there, and then I adhered the final finished piece to a piece of glittery aqua paper to mat that whole piece. Added my sequins, which I fill the center area with silver stickles, and then I adhered the entire piece onto a white card base. And that completes the card for today. Before I go, I just wanted to mention that on the Create a Smile blog, there is a gallery on the sidebar that you can go ahead and link up any cards that you create with Create a Smile stamps to share your work and so we can all see what you're working on. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.